in the name of building better cities, better villages, facilities, and so on. In every one of the point, there is an aspect of effectively managing the challenges that we have on an environment. That's why there's emphasis on waste to energy, waste to wealth management, and so on, all of which in terms of what kind of a particular benefit it is going to give will have to be calibrated with the particular benefit together with the collaterals which are more important. So all of which is aimed at the broad picture of the new India, where we are saying it's going to be a better India with all kinds of facilities which are just not building one bridge, but because you're building it in a green way, is going to have an impact on all of the aspects of ease of living. Like the way we constantly talk about environment, water pollution and degradation and so on. So that is why the budget presentation format also was 10-year vision, 5-year target, and the 5-6 areas through which we are elaborating on the various schemes, whether it is Gramin Bharat, whether it's Urban Bharat, whether it's looking at youth. So it's not just I've launched XYZ schemes in different areas, but it's a comprehensive picture of that entire segment or sector of society being improved upon. So under that, as I said, urban, rural, youth, women have all been taken up, and also special initiatives to improve the ease of living. And one broad reference was also made for the India international image through the soft power. But more importantly, that one particular sector on which there's a lot of discussion going on for the last almost 8-9 months is about the NBFCs. Because they are a very critical component to our banking system, in that they are the ones who are lending to the last consumer who wants to buy his motorbike or a scooter or even purchase something, and therefore these NBFC credits were very, very critical. I've made it a point to mention as to what the government's plan is. It's not just a one-off. It's a comprehensively well thought out approach to the crisis about which all of us were talking about, and therefore on that the approach that we have taken and the approach which is going to make the Reserve Bank of India a regulator both for the NBFCs in general and for the housing, where already the NHB was doing or expected to do the regulation. Now that power through the finance bill which is presented now will be given off to the RBI. There's also this window being open for NBFC financing, and that to that window there is a backstop of the government security up to 10%, and we expect as a result the pooling of those resources or assets which can be bought and somewhere securitized. So the whole approach is to ensure that the government has responded comprehensively for the NBFC issue. And if we have responded comprehensively to the NBFC issue without understanding the regulatory shortcomings, it would have been something which you may want to ask more questions. But now, what I want to tell you is, it's a comprehensive approach, understanding that the regulatory powers also will have to be addressed, and that is being moved to the RBI. And one other big thing that I'm sure all of you all would have noticed, there is about recapitalization, 70,000 crores for the banks, which is being given. And because of that, we expect, even if there is this debate that no, it is not a liquidity issue, banks have money, they are not passing it on, or they are passing it on higher rates, and that is not getting moved over to the citizens, that issue should now stand squarely addressed, because that fund is going to help the banks to be a bit more easy with their credit extensions. Then many other points which could otherwise get lost, I would broadly only indicate about the way in which we have decided on the government holding 51%, on the disinvestment. All the targets are realistically placed. Every target that we've given, tax collection, revenue collection, are all absolutely reasonable limits. There's no exaggeration of tasks of the assignment. So I would think there's emphasis on green, affordable, ease of living for common citizens. Infrastructure gets priority, like the way in which the last 5 years, consumption in the rural areas is being pumped by the government's expenditure on infrastructure so that in situ benefits for workers who are working in these projects will reach money, actual money, real money will reach the rural consumer. So broadly, that's the kind of line we've taken. Startups have been given a whole set of tax benefits, whole set of approach which is going to make them feel a lot more ease of doing their business. Startups have been given. One point which I forgot to mention, or probably I didn't elaborate in the budget speech, was how stand-ups have made a big difference for social transformation. Today, the manual scavenging issue is something on which all of us really feel very bad. But stand-up has been so effectively utilized, along with startups designing robots which can help in reducing the monotony and the drudgery of that job. Today, the effective combination of startup and stand-up, together with banks utilizing that facility, has given the chance for many of the SCs and STs to come out as entrepreneurs. Now they have a company of their own and they employ, and this has employ a lot more number of people. This is a part of what we have had in our stakeholders consultation. So in a way, this budget is setting a vision, setting a target, achieving the target or laying out plan to achieve the target, not just with one rasta, but touching every sector of our society. And banks which have had recent difficulties have been addressed. NBFC crisis has been addressed. More regulatory and other powers are being transferred to where they rightly should belong because of the capacities that exist. So as an opening statement, I would only probably say this much, but very clearly, if there are very genuine concerns about, what will happen to social sector, is this happening or not, I can straight away tell you, welfare for SC, welfare for SC, welfare for ST, welfare for the poor are all increased. The outlay is increased for all of them. So there's no shortage, or we have not pinched on those areas. The fund allocation for these areas have been increased. And the big idea that we have to get all the fellowship-related money, scholarship-related money for higher education and the research-based money, which are spread across very, very many ministries, are now pooled in, so that there's one agency which takes care of that. So this is about all that I want to say in the opening statement. I would think this, and also for, women, SHG, one woman in every SHG will get at least ₹1 lakh for her business through the Mudra loan. And their overdraft facilities are also increased. So we've tried addressing all the segments, sectors, without denying anybody else. So.
Okay, लक्ष्मण मैम, मैं लक्ष्मण CNBC आवाज से इसमें दो चीजें ऐसी हुई, जैसे पेट्रोल पे हम लोगों ने ₹2 बढ़ोतरी की, और दूसरा एक सर्टेन अमाउंट से ज्यादा कैश निकालने पे टैक्स लगाने की बात की है। इसके पीछे दरअसल मकसद क्या था? ये माना जा रहा था कि इस प्रचंड बहुमत के बाद लोगों को कुछ खास तोहफा मिलेगा, लेकिन इसको थोड़ा सा नकारात्मक अंदाजे से देखा जा रहा है।
तोहफा मिलने में भी आपको दिखता नहीं है, बहुत तोहफा है। और पेट्रोल और डीजल का विषय में, it is very clearly global situation being what it is, and India's funding, public funding requirement being what it is, there's always this demand that fund has to be mobilized without hurting individual taxpayers much more. But at the same time, let's also be clear, petrol and diesel are not in the GST. So we want to make sure that we don't expand on individual personal income tax so much, but where there are public transport coming in nowadays, individual spending on fuel, but particularly biofuel being promoted, this kind of a fuel is something which we wanted to address. That is why. And cash withdrawal, आप समझिए, 2 crore तक per account, one account से 2 crore within a year, 1 crore within a year निकालने का आवश्यकता क्या होगा? 1 crore from one account withdrawal of cash. I don't know, I don't comprehend this. But yet, if you are a taxpayer and you're filing a return, with that you can reconcile this. This is not a TDS aside from that. That will get reconciled. जो करना चाह रहे हैं आप कैश के साथ वो प्लीज आप इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली ट्रांसफर करो, कुछ TDS VADS नहीं है. हम आपके ट्रांसैक्शन के खिलाफ नहीं है, कैश के खिलाफ.
रुचि.
Ma'am, congratulations on your maiden budget. I'm Ruchi Bhatia from ET Now. Ma'am, you have in the budget, in fact, announced a lower of 3.3% for 2020, and this while maintaining support for growth as well as income. Rating agencies are saying that this is going to be a challenging task. How are you planning to, make sure that you're able to boost growth at this point of time? Also, just to add to that, if you could help us understand how much revenue will you be able to raise through the revenue raking measures that you've undertaken?
So this has been very carefully considered. The revenue side, as compared to the actuals of 18-19, which are available now, the direct taxes have been budgeted to increase only by 17.5%, as against something like 23-24% earlier. Indirect taxes are going up only by 15%. This brings realism to it. It also includes the effect of the excise duties as well as on the income tax. So these are very realistic targets in our judgment. So revenue is that. There is also an increase in the non-tax side, which is going up by, we expecting better dividends. On expenditure side, it's more or less same as the interim budget, only an increase of about 2,000 crore or so. All these put together gives us a saving of about 6,000 crore as compared to the interim budget. That brings down from 3.4 to 3.3. So it's a realistic budget on both sides, on the revenue as well as on the expenditure, and this is doable. Some concern which has been expressed that outside the budget there might be a borrowing. Even there is a reduction. The fully serviced bonds, which were about 64,000 crore last year, are being brought down to about 57,000 crore. So on everywhere there is a realism, and there is nothing outside this, and therefore I think you should take them as reasonably credible. Thank you.
Mukesh Kusi.
Sir, ma'am, my question is regarding the corporate tax. There is a tax reduction that you've proposed for corporates with 400 crore rupees of over turnover. How much of a revenue loss does it come, and why did you not choose to give it to the complete 1% which was left out last time in the budget? Because there was already a roadmap towards reduction of corporate tax. Only 1% of corporate tax assessees were left out, but still the entire 1% is not covered. How much of a revenue loss it is, and what is the thinking behind not to extend it to the remaining 1%?
Well, I think we are only progressively moving towards fulfilling our goal on that, and by bringing in more number of industries into that lowered rate, we are clearly sending a message out there saying we are not trying to, stick to rigidity on the rates about corporate tax. But as regards revenue loss on that, I would like Secretary to.
The corporate tax rate, till now it was 250 crores. So 250 crores, and now this limit has been raised to 400 crores. So the revenue loss that we have estimated is around 4,000 crores that the government will have to forego. But it covers, as said by Honorable Finance Minister in her budget speech. It covers 99.3% companies who are having turnover less than 400 crores.
Hi, I'm Shubham Batra from Cogensis. My questions to Finance Secretary on the budget numbers, particularly how have we factored in FY20 from the RBI dividend? There's a higher allocation there. And on the recapitalization side of PSU banks, the 70,000 crore, is this via recapitalization bonds?
The Reserve Bank dividend will come after the Reserve Bank's meeting takes place.
So, but how much have we factored in FY20?
We have placed something close to about 90,000 crores.
Okay.
And for the bond, it's as was done earlier, it's below the line. So it's part of the fiscal, it's not part of the fiscal deficit, but it's part of the debt. Same methodology, capitalization bond.
Ma'am, this is Mukesh Kaushik from Dainik Bhaskar. Ma'am, before coming to this ministry, you were also defense minister, and there was expectation in defense forces that there would be substantial increase in their defense budget when full-fledged budget would be presented, but you did not mention anything about defense. Is it not increased or left at the same level where it was announced in interim budget?
If I have not mentioned, it doesn't mean that I have not increased. On the contrary, I have actually increased. Only I have not mentioned it there. I'll read it for you. See, defense, there are four heads on which defense is getting money. Defense pension, the increase from the RE stage of 2018-19 to today is 1 lakh 6, I'm reading the actual amount, 10,067, am I right? No, 1 minute. 1 lakh 6,775 crores was in the RE. Now it's 1 lakh 12,080 increase. We go to the revenue, 93,000, capital outlay on defense services, 93,982 in RE stage. Now it's 1 lakh 3,394. Then go to defense on revenue, defense services on revenue, 1 lakh 88,000, 1 lakh 8,000, am I right? 1 lakh 88,118 crores was in the RE of 2018-19. Now it's 2 lakh 1,902 increased. There's one more left, which is a smaller item. Civil, Ministry of Defense, Civil. That was at 16,318 crores. Only that has seen a 13,635 now, a 3,000 reduction. Because we've already given some to them, that will be adjusted there. Otherwise, under every head for defense, it's an increase. Substantial increase.
Okay. Madam,
so it probably helps to have a former defense minister as finance minister.
Madam, I am here. Madam, Dr. Manas Banerjee from Northeast and Bengal. I have gone through your budget speech, but there was nothing, no mention of Northeast. What about your allocation in Northeast, please?
Northeast. Just as there was no mention of defense, but it had increase. Northeast, you like to know. B 2018-19, 0.47 lakh crores. Now it is 0.59 for the Northeast region as a whole. A 25% increase, would you say?
Yes.
I'm Rishti from Bloomberg News. Could you give us some details on your overseas sovereign bond announcement? When do you plan to raise and how much are you planning to get through that?
So this is the beginning which has been made. So it's a policy announcement that we would be starting raising sovereign bonds abroad now. We have not decided on exact amounts. We will do that kind of analysis. And soon we'll come up with what kind of beginning we will make. But certainly the start will be made now on the sovereign bonds.
मैं प्रशांत हूँ एबीपी न्यूज़ से। एक जो क्रिटिसिज्म जो अभी तक हम लोगों ने सुना है वो ये है कि एक कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन है। इलेक्ट्रिक वाहनों पर आप लोगों ने छूट दिया है जो कि बहुत ज़्यादा अभी चलन में नहीं है, लेकिन पेट्रोल डीजल पर सेस लगाकर आप लोग महंगाई बढ़ेगी उससे और मध्यम वर्ग पर भी और सब पर भार पड़ेगा। दूसरा एक और भी एक चर्चा सुबह से बहुत कौतूहल का विषय बना हुआ है मैम कि आपकी लाल पोटली आज लाने का क्या ये था, क्योंकि लेदर बैग लेकर नॉर्मली लोग आते थे बजट को, उस पर कुछ बताइए।
See, first of all, हमारी एक एनवायरनमेंट कमिटमेंट के लिए gradually move out of fossil fuels and go towards renewable energy. Unless we give substantial incentive for renewable energy, particularly when it comes to the question of mobility, where emissions from vehicles which are using biofuel, fossil fuel, is the main reason for suspended particles in the air and so on. So we wanted to make sure that if we have made a good commitment for improving the air pollution conditions, we have to support electrical vehicles. And they are coming in. Indians are also manufacturing. So unless we encourage them in a significant way, move away from fossil fuel to electrical vehicle is never going to happen. We also think in from the point of view of employment generation, investing in sunrise sectors such as electrical batteries, solar batteries, lithium-ion batteries, there is a big scope for India. So simultaneously, as we are giving this facility and incentivizing buying of electrical vehicles, we are also giving incentive for investment in solar storage, battery capacity, and also lithium-ion and so on. So this encouragement towards renewable energy, particularly for public transport and mobility purposes, is from both sides. It's not as if we are not conscious that the production of electrical vehicles are not as many as we wanted, and we want to move towards that. So that's the logic behind it. And as regards the red color, what did you ask me? Why I have not used the leather bag? I thought it was high time that India moved out of the British hangover. So it's good enough for us to come and do something our own. And this was easy for me to carry also. Very Indian.
Ma'am, this is Anuradha Shukla from New Indian Express. Here, ma'am. My question is that, by putting some increasing tax on the high net worth individuals, how much revenue are you expecting out of, that?
You want to say something on that, please?
What we have estimated is around 12,000 crores we'll get by increasing this surcharge on the category from 2 crore to 5 crore and 5 crore and above.
Madam, on your right here. On your right, ma'am. On your left, I'm sorry. Ma'am, you have increased the disinvestment target. You mentioned in your budget speech that your government is open to, move a strategic sale in other companies. So would we understand that this would also mean that you may be open to sell your stake in profit-making companies, which hasn't been the case so far? So probably a company like NTPC and ONGC, the government stake can go below 51%?
I think I'll have the secretaries also add in here. Disinvestment secretary is here? Yeah, he should actually be talking about it. But the idea is, we've set ourselves fairly a realistic goal, 1,05,000 for disinvestment. For the way in which disinvestment should happen, and with disinvestment there is also a reform agenda which gets fulfilled. And if it is necessary to push with these reforms because we do not want economy to stagnate, disinvestment is an important route. In that, of course, we did announce about the 51% shareholding, government not losing its holding, But yet, if there are 2 or 3 different agencies of the government themselves holding it over and above, altogether holding it over and above 51%, we thought it should be opened up. Government still retains its ownership, but if you open it up, you're at least giving opportunity for, let us say, India's small retail purchasers of stock. You need to open up this ownership to wider Indian market, and that is why the larger principle. But then, Deepam Secretary can please.
On the profitable company side, the question that you asked, that has never been the case in disinvestment, that for the strategic disinvestment, profit-making companies will not be sold. In fact, those companies where there's already adequate competition and they are not strategic in that sense, there are already companies on the block which are being sold, which are profit-making. So profit-making or non-profit-making, that's never been the dividing line.
There has been concern about investment both in economic analysis, and you have announced certain incentives for investments. And in that you mentioned that perhaps the NBFCs would be allowed to explore new financial instruments, including this credit default swaps. Are we entering a risky region with that kind of a thing?
See, for promoting investments, several new instruments have actually been institutionalized and operationalized in the last couple of years. In which you are familiar, Madam mentioned about the amounts raised, also about 24,000 crore through these instruments. That is becoming very popular now. Many companies are using this for raising resources for their operating assets. I think about 8 to 10 companies have already done. In the real estate segment also, we had the first REIT of India only 2 or 3 months back. In the road sector, we have had TOT by NHAI. So these instruments are being sort of more and more mainstreamed. Government would also use these instruments for their brownfield assets monetization. In addition, what you referred was about the credit default swaps and all. That is the market instruments where the private sector can raise money using some of those instruments. So what was signaled was the government's openness and intent to examine all these instruments for allowing the private sector to raise money.
जी मंत्री जी यहाँ मेरा आपसे सवाल है, मैं एसएम आसिफ इन दिनों उर्दू डेली से हूँ। आपने कहा है कि 5 वर्षों में 1.54 करोड़ ग्रामीण आवास का निर्माण आपने पूरा कर दिया है। अब आप जो है 2019 और 22 में 1.95 करोड़ आवास बनाने जा रहे हैं, इस पर कितनी लागत आएगी?
80 or 90,000 crore. Muruji, you have the number? I think it's about 90,000 crore, which has been mentioned there. 90,000.
90,000. Chandrasekhar from ANI. In the economic survey yesterday, the outlook speaks of challenges on 5 fronts, including because of the slowing down, fears of slowing down of the economy, and revenue collections may be less. But the budget doesn't talk about any of these factors. Why is it? And are you taking into account these factors when you talk of attaining $5 trillion in 5 years and things like that?
In the budget, the main focus has been on trying to set out a blueprint for achieving that 5 trillion, especially the investment side, and allowing some of the foreign capital to come in, together with startups. There's been a bunch of measures that have been taken for startups, also for encouraging domestic investment, NBFCs that ma'am talked about. So the budget really has focused on trying to ensure that that vision of $5 trillion is achieved by, getting into that virtuous cycle that the economic survey talked about with investment as the driver. That is the intent, right?
1 minute. Nothing has been said about what?
Sectors where sales are
no, I'm sorry. The budget would not tell about a particular sector where we have addressed it from various different sectors' point of view. We've not named each sector. But I did tell you that the approach is to see how in urban life, what are the kinds which are going to make it easy for living and for promotion of those. As I'm saying that, I'm also talking about bank recapitalization. I'm also talking about NBFCs. Obviously, all of them are going to be looking at their clients who emerge out of cities and rural areas. So isn't that addressing that issue? So I didn't answer it in that kind of a way, but I've indicated the kind of things that I can do through the rural, urban, youth, women and so on.
Ma'am, this is Aishwarya.
Ma'am, this is Sapna Das from CNBC TV18. Ma'am, a quick question. First of all, many congratulations on your first budget. It has a lot of announcements. Very quickly, ma'am, a further clarification required on the policy of bringing government shareholding below 51%. I suppose that's a very, very important initiative going forward. The clarification that we need is that does it apply to financial institutions also, or in the sense that banks will be kept out of that space? First off. Second, also, ma'am, you very clearly stuck to the fiscal consolidation roadmap. In fact, the current financial has seen a 10 basis points cut in your FD number. What gives you this confidence? Because on the revenue side, you have gone ahead and increased the petroleum duties. But first, ma'am, on 51%.
It's very clearly mentioned in the budget speech by the madam that this present proposal is for the non-financial public sector undertakings as of now.
It talks about realignment of government shareholding including banks to create credit for investment. So does that mean that you will at least bring it down to around 1%?
It says about the non-financial public sector undertakings.
No, the paragraph 98 talks about bringing it to 51 or below. The next one is realigning the share, which it doesn't say we're going below the 51% limit. So there's a difference between the two. Which should be seen in that.
But very clearly, nothing on the banks. Let there be no misunderstanding. The banks are not contemplated to be brought below 51. It's only for the non-financial entities. I think I answered it earlier, fiscal consolidation. I gave you all the numbers also on the revenue side and expenditure. I don't think anything needs to be added on that.
Okay.
Ma'am, this is Aishwarya Paliwal here from India Today. Ma'am, there is no change in the tax slab. Why so?
When was the last tax slab announcement made?
2014.
4 months ago.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Ashutosh Kumar from BTVI News Channel. First of all, many congratulations for your budget. Ma'am, the one thing that we need to understand is that all the decisions made on the indirect tax front, how much they translate into in terms of revenue. And secondly, the wider sense that we get from the budget is that budget has scouted for a lot of resources from all directions. In this particular context, can we really say that the government may not be feeling that confident about getting some quantum of amount from capital reserve of the RBI? Could that mean, can we safely conclude that?
I don't know where you're reading that we are not confident. I'd like to know actually, because this budget, I think, has clearly spoken from a position of strength. A position of strength which is derived from the mandate received. A position of strength which is very clearly showing that in spite of all the narrative that you may post before me, India is still the fastest growing economy. And therefore, we have come up with proposals with which we are confident that even as we are maintaining a certain level of fiscal discipline, we are moving fast towards growing. So you were talking about indirect taxation. You asked about revenue generation under indirect taxation. Do you want to just hear this out? What is the corresponding to this? Sorry? You want to answer that?
If you look at our indirect tax proposals, we have increased a duty on some item, but at the same time we have also reduced custom duty on the raw materials and the capital goods. So if you see the net, what we estimate in this current financial year, around 25,000 crores. The direct tax side, as I mentioned earlier, that in corporate tax, we have reduced the tax rate, and the high net worth individual we have increased. So net increase that we expect around 6,000 to 7,000 crores.
Ma'am,
sir, it's Ujjwal Narayan. It's Ujjwal Narayan from Newsrise. Sir, we wish to,
Please, just one sec. I'll come back to you, please.
As government wish to raise funds through sovereign bonds, so is it a requirement to include India in sovereign bond index before doing that? Apart from that, sir, in past, there is any instance that India has raised sovereign bonds, and on what rate?
There is no sovereign bond index, so to say. Sovereigns issue it. We will also be starting. Indirectly, we have already permitted. So the foreigners can invest in our securities. So it's only raising in the foreign currency now, since our foreign currency denominated debt is very small. We think it's better to diversify and reduce the pressure on the domestic resources to apply. That is the reason we are making a beginning. Yes.
Ma'am, I'm Sanjay Thapa from Independent Television, Insight. I'd like to know, ma'am, you have imposed cess on fuel. Now, has the government worked out the impact on inflation on this, and thereby the impact on investments, the credit, the interest rates, and thereby the whole economy goes into a tailspin?
I'm sorry, what is the present level of inflation? All that question would be absolutely relevant if the inflation rate is already hitting the roof. What has been the last 5-year trend in inflation? And the inflation control and management in this government stands out exemplarily. So if you're asking me this question about the fuel price increase because you're concerned about inflation, I'd like to draw your attention to say inflation has been at its lowest, if anything, and the anxiety, if anything, among some of the economists is about this is not really going to help growth.
But ma'am, given the monsoon's delay, and
now from inflation to monsoon, which is the concern.
But then it's going to affect inflation, ma'am.
Sorry?
It's going to affect inflation.
Well, we don't know what affects inflation about the monsoon because none of us can predict it.
Okay. Let's take a question.
Well, Ma'am, Santosh Thakur from Lokmat. Ma'am, my question is, there is no, at least I didn't find the expectations from the spectrum auctioning. And the other hand, the telecom ministry is saying they are going to auction, the mega auction this year only. So any expectations that you have calculated?
They're still working out the modalities as well as the timing. So we have not taken that into account in the budget for the time. So let these modalities be worked out. Then an appropriate announcement will be.
Yeah. मैम इधर इस तरफ या मैम मैं मनीष हूँ न्यूज़ 24 न्यूज़ चैनल से। मेरा सवाल था कि आपने आज रियल एस्टेट सेक्टर को बूस्ट करने के लिए जो ब्याज पे जो छूट है वो 2 लाख से बढ़ा के 3.5 लाख रुपए कर दिया। क्या ये केवल मार्च 2020 तक ही रहेगा? और क्या अगर कोई व्यक्ति अगर 45 लाख से ऊपर का घर खरीदता है तो क्या उस पर भी लागू होगा या केवल 45 लाख तक ही उसको रखा गया है?
नहीं, देखिए, ये जो अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग में जो छूट दी गई है, ये सिर्फ जिस घर का कीमत 45 लाख से कम है, क्योंकि अफोर्डेबल हाउस की जो व्याख्या है वो 45 लाख तक की है, तो उस लिमिट तक अगर कोई घर खरीदता है और अगर लोन लेता है तो उसे 1.5 लाख रुपए का एडिशनल डिडक्शन उसको मिल जाएगा। और ये भी कहा गया है कि ये मार्च 2000 अगले साल तक है।
We'll take the last 2 questions now.
Here. Sir. Okay. मैम मैं शैलेश हूँ ANI से। मैम बजट के पहले आप अरुण जेटली जी से मिली थी और मनमोहन सिंह जी से मिली थी, तो उनकी क्या एडवाइस थी कुछ बजट में जो दिखी हो ऐसी?
हाँ, मैं पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री जी से भी मिली और पूर्व वित्त मंत्री से भी मिले उनके आशीर्वाद लेने के लिए। तो इसे जनरल चर्चा था, उसमें सुझाव के नाते बजट में जो पेश होना है उसके नाते कुछ स्पेसिफिकली ऐसे कुछ नहीं था।
I am Ravi Kapoor, freelance journalist. My question is that 1,05,000 crore rupees has been set as target, disinvestment target. Could you specify what percentage, what amount is expected to come from privatization or strategic sale as you call it, and from minority stake sale?
We do not normally set out instrument-wise, the targets in public because that tends to affect the prices of individual companies. So I'm afraid those kind of details as to which company would yield how much or because most of the market instruments are market-related. So we will see it as we go along, which company gets sold, you'll come to the number.
Okay, the very last question. Yeah.
मैम मैं पीयूष पांडे भारतवर्ष से जॉब क्रिएशन को लेकर के में कोई स्पेसिफिक प्लान रखा गया है जॉब क्रिएशन को लेकर के?
जैसे मैंने इधर एक प्रश्न के लिए जवाब दिया, जॉब क्रिएशन के हेडिंग डाल करके मैं इसलिए डाले नहीं, इसलिए इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि जॉब क्रिएशन के लिए हमने कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं। जब इन्वेस्टमेंट को ड्रॉ कर रहे हैं, इन्वेस्टमेंट पर्टिकुलरली सनराइज सेक्टर्स के लिए ले आ रहे हैं, ये सब इन्वेस्टमेंट इसीलिए ले आ रहे हैं इंसेंटिव देख करके कि ऐसे एरियाज में जॉब क्रिएशन होगा। इसके अलावा जो स्किल डेवलपमेंट के लिए एडिशनली हमने एक्सपेंडिचर का विषय उठाए, वो भी स्किल लोगों को दिला करके उनको जॉब के एलिजिबिलिटी सिर्फ डिग्री के नाते नहीं, उनके स्किल्स के नाते भी उनका एबिलिटी बढ़ाने के लिए। सो जॉब क्रिएशन कम्स थ्रू वेरी मेनी सच थिंग्स एंड द पॉलिसी दैट वी आर ओपनिंग अप बिकॉज ऑफ मेक इन इंडिया इज ऑल्सो अ कंटिन्यूएशन फॉर जॉब क्रिएशन। वो हेडिंग अलग से नहीं डाला है, मगर ये नहीं है मतलब उसका कि हम कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं उसके।
Thank you very much,
जी,
ma'am.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly join us for refreshments in the 4th floor cafeteria. Thank you.